Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome into the Vegas Insider YouTube channel, The Daily Insider. I am Tom, and today we are going to be going over a pretty big soccer event, football event, the Champions League, UEFA. That is going to be taking place on Saturday between Manchester City and Chelsea. And I am joined by our VI soccer or football betting expert, Toby Maxtone-Smith. Toby, what's going on? How ready are you for this weekend, or even this week, because we have Europa on Wednesday as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a great week. I mean, I'm actually lucky enough to be going out to the final in Portugal, which is great because it's been a whole year pretty much of not being able to go to any football. There have been a couple of games recently that have had a few fans in. But yeah, after all this time trapped inside, it's just brilliant to get back to it. And yeah, it's a really, really interesting game. I mean, I'm totally neutral from a betting standpoint, obviously, but I am a Chelsea fan. I'll declare that now. And it's just it's brilliant to see us back in the Champions League final. It's been 9 years, and yeah, I mean, I think it should be a really, really interesting game.
Would you be there with Lampard?
What do you mean?
Would you be in the Champions League final?
Oh no, I wouldn't make. I might not make many friends among my fellow Chelsea fans, but no, I mean, I think the managerial change is pretty much the reason why Chelsea are there. It's been a pretty amazing turnaround. I mean, Chelsea were ninth when Lampard was sacked. Ended up getting fourth, got to the FA Cup final, which really they should have won, and have now got through the Champions League final with ease in a way. I mean, they've all been fairly close on paper, but Chelsea have been the better team in probably all 6 of their knockout matches against some pretty good teams.
I've noticed that Chelsea, we'll start getting into the betting things here in a minute. I've noticed Chelsea, they have yet to be beaten in the first half of all their Champions League games this year. So in the last 12 Champions League games, Chelsea is unbeaten in the first half. And I look at some odds here for the first half. Chelsea to win the first half is plus 370 or 37-1. I say 37-10. Or to draw in the first half against Man City is plus 106, basically even. Yeah. Do you fancy either of those two? Do you like Chelsea to maybe not even win the first half, but to not lose?
I think that's probably a pretty good bet. I mean, Tuchel has been, he's actually quite a cautious manager because I don't think he thinks this Chelsea squad is particularly brilliant. So when it comes to it, he will generally make them all if he's got an option of 2 selections or 2 approaches, he'll generally go for the more cautious option, particularly in a big game like this. I do think that's a pretty good bet. Chelsea have also started pretty well when they played Man City in recent weeks. They've beat them in the FA Cup semi-finals about a month ago. Started that game really well, 1-0 up at half time, and then just sort of defended solidly in the second half. City again, they as favourites, they'll come out very quickly, but they also kind of settle into a rhythm where they just sort of naturally dominate games anyway. So perhaps they may wait and trust that their superior finishing will win the day.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because Man City, they have actually won the second half in 3 straight UCL matches. So there seems to be a little bit of a trend there of Chelsea starting strong.
Yeah, I mean, the only time that City have really looked in much trouble in their Champions League run was in their first leg against PSG in the semi-finals, and PSG really outplayed them in that first half, and actually it could have been 2-0 or 3-0, and then City really came back strongly, better team in the second half, comfortably won the game 2-1, perhaps a little bit fortunately, but just winning that game 2-1, and they were in no trouble at all in the second leg, winning 2-0.
It's funny you bring up the 2-1 result. Man City has actually seen a 2-1 result in 3 of their last 4 UCL matches. Now they've won 7 in a row, so obviously they've won those 2-1 result matches. I know you have the draw as your best bet. Is that something you're going to stick to? Do you fancy maybe the 2-1 result, or are you sold on the draw?
I mean, the thing I'm most confident about is I'm very confident it'll be a close game. City on their day, the thing about, what people always say about City is that on their day they can thrash anyone no matter how well you play. I'm not quite sure that's true. I think Chelsea are a very, very hard team to score a lot of goals and create a lot of chances against. The market has City as slight odds on favourites, and they are clearly rightful favourites. I think they're just a little bit too short for me to back. I think the 2-1, if you're going for a correct score, 2-1 is probably a nice bet, because really, the odds of 5-6 effectively give City a 1-goal start.
The BTS. Sorry, I wanted to jump to this market since we're on these different markets here. The BTS. Chelsea has failed to see the BTS hit in 5 of 6 Champions League matches. I think we're all pretty much accustomed to Man City's defensive play and how they typically don't see both teams score a goal. When you combine Chelsea and Man City's Champions League BTS record this year, it substantially fails to hit. What is your thoughts on the BTS market for this game?
Well, I would. It's strange. I think I would be more inclined. I mean, my own personal prediction for this match is 1-1, so I would probably rather look at. I'm sort of on both teams scoring but a low scorer. So under 2.5, 4 to 6 is probably where I'd go. I mean, both teams, no on both teams to score, one or both teams not to score has clicked in an incredible number of Chelsea matches since Tuchel took charge. I mean, there was a time back in sort of March and April where Chelsea to win to 0 was just coming in, 2 in every 3 matches, and it was sort of 15-8, 2-1. And you could absolutely rake it in. They've been conceding a few recently, obviously 2-1 at Aston Villa, conceded to Arsenal, conceded in the cup final. But again, those goals were, you're looking at a kind of freak mistake against Arsenal, a long shot against Leicester, a penalty. They're unfortunate, and they're not really to do with bad Chelsea defending. They're a very, very solid team who are hard to counter-attack against. So,
what about the goal total going under then, if that's the case? Is that maybe a better market for you than maybe the BTS failing to score? Because it does.
I would say that's where I would go. I mean, it's hard to say that Man City won't score. I mean, they very likely will. They always score. And again, I wouldn't put you off betting Man City 1-0 either. That's sort of generally where I'm looking. I think it's going to be close, 1-1, 1-0. That kind of area. But I think under 2.5 in normal time. I mean, we've got to remember that finals, there have been some quite high scoring finals recently, just generally, but finals in general are low scoring. I see the last 2 Champions League.
I mean, it's expensive. Under 2.5 is minus 157. So you're paying a pretty price for it to go under.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, so of the markets, then I'll ask you, if you had to pick one outside the popular market of who's going to win, if you had to pick a BTS market, a goal total market, between those two, or even the others that we've discussed, first half, second half, which of those do you feel most convicted in taking?
I think the draw at halftime might be a really nice bet. Again, I think you're covering a lot of bases there. You're covering the fact that Chelsea are going to play cautiously. The fact that it's a final means that teams are going to be desperate not to go behind early. And of course, even if it does open up 1-1 at half time is hardly unlikely. I think of the unusual of the kind of other markets beyond the match winners, I think that's quite a nice bet.
The player prop betting, I see Sergio Aguero has the highest odds to score a goal. Now, I've read in a few places he might be starting on the bench. I wouldn't expect Aguero to start. I think City will go with their front three of Foden, Sterling, and Mahrez. So fade Aguero then?
I mean, Aguero, this is his. I mean, he's leaving City at the end of the year, going to Barcelona, and he kind of had his farewell in the league against Everton at the weekend. Came off the bench and scored twice, and it was very. That was sort of. I don't think there was any kind of suggestion that wasn't his final game. I mean, he may come off the bench if City need a goal, but
So
I'd
who
be
would be
pretty.
your best bet then? I see Gabriel Jesus is up there, Raheem Sterling, Riyad Mahrez, who's really good, Ferran Torres,
Yeah.
Kevin De Bruyne, Tammy Abraham. I mean, there's so many great names here. Who
Well,
are most convicted in scoring?
on City are an unusual team because for all the goals they score, they spread them around a great deal. I mean, Gundogan, who actually has been really, people before this season saw him as kind of mainly a defensive midfielder. He's completely changed his game, become a brilliant all-round midfielder, and he was their top goal scorer in the league. You've got a huge number of options. I mean, it's hard to pick which one might be best. I think if I was going to pick a City goal scorer, I'd go for Sterling, who's got a pretty good record against Chelsea. He gave them the lead in the league game about a month ago. Pretty likely to start. He's not been in the best form all season, but I think Guardiola kind of trusts him in big games. He does have a good big game record.
What about Captain America? I got to ask about Christian Pulisic.
Yeah, I mean, Chelsea's selection is really interesting because they've got 3 spaces up front and about 6 players, all of about equal ability to fill them. I think Mason Mount is pretty much guaranteed to start. And I think Werner will start as well because Tuchel likes him and he stretches the play. So that leaves one spot for Pulisic, Ziyech, and Havertz. And it's really, I really have no idea who Tuchel will pick. I would probably say that Pulisic is just about the front runner there.
Well, it's interesting because they all have odds to score a goal somewhere around 10-1.
Yeah, I mean, I think
it literally hedge all 4 if you really wanted to.
Pulisic would definitely, if Pulisic were to start, he would be the best bet in that front 3. I think he's the best finisher in that group. Obviously, I mean, he scored the first goal at the away game at Real Madrid. Really well taken goal. He's a player who really can finish in many types of ways. He doesn't have to score the perfect goal. He can kind of scuff it in the way that someone like Timo Werner, just sort of he kind of constantly has to find the same way to finish every shot. Whereas Pulisic, he can score tap-ins, he can score close range headers, he can give the goalkeeper the odds. He's a very, very good finisher.
Versatile. Yeah.
And he's good on the break. The very likely way of Chelsea scoring is Werner tearing down a flank and crossing it into Pulisic. I mean, that's what's happened for a lot of Chelsea goals in big games this year.
We'll see if that happens. Yeah.
I do have one which for a Chelsea goal scorer, which is Ben Chilwell. Okay. He's a really big price. I think he might be 40-1 or 33-1. Either of those would be a really good bet. Chelsea play this 5 at the back system where the 2 wing backs, which will be which will probably be Cesar Azpilicueta and Ben Chilwell, push really far forward. I mean, they're often in really good goal scoring positions. And if he's priced at 33-1, they've priced him as if he's just a normal left back playing in a normal 4 at the back. And he's really not. He's playing as a winger a lot of the time. He scored in the game against Villa at the weekend. He had a goal ruled out in the FA Cup final, just a kind of very marginal offside call. He very nearly scored against Leicester in the league game. He's getting in loads of really good goal scoring positions. And he's actually quite calm in front of goal. He's got, I think, 5 goals for Chelsea this year.
Oh, wow.
Could easily have more. And I think at a big price, he's definitely worth a bet.
Yeah. Good long shot. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think he's a really nice long shot.
Before we get into your we're gonna go with these quick hitters of best bets for the Champions League. Real quickly, I just want to get your take on the Europa League. We've got Man U and Villarreal, who is running roughshod through Europa League right now, is going through some trends. Villarreal, they've won, I believe they're unbeaten in 12 of 14 games. They failed to concede 2 or more goals in 12 straight. What are your thoughts on this Europa League matchup? Because it does seem like everyone is going all in on Man U, but the trends will tell you Villarreal is there for a reason.
They are. It's an interesting match. I mean, I generally taking a broader view, and English teams, Villarreal beat Arsenal in the semi-finals, but other than that, English teams have done really well against Spanish teams this year. And you do get kind of national leagues kind of go up and down together. And there was a couple of years ago where English teams were doing really well against German teams, and a few years before that where it was the opposite. All the German teams were beating English teams. United have beaten pretty comfortably Real Sociedad and Granada in the knockout stages. Teams of more or less similar quality to Villarreal, and they beat them 4-0 twice on aggregate. And to be honest, I'm pretty happy just to take United at the price. What you would say for Villarreal is that they defended very well against Arsenal, and they have a very good knockout manager in Unai Emery, who constantly gets to the final of the Europa League, usually wins it. But the stature of these two clubs, United pay 4 times the wages Villarreal do. Villarreal's wage bill, they're an extreme, they're an overperforming club, but their wage bill is right down the bottom of of the Premier League.
Right.
And United, I just think will have too much firepower for them. They won that first leg against Roma 6-2. They've got a huge number of options. They've ended the season pretty well. They were also able to rest players for their last league game. Basically played a total second-string team against Wolves and happened to win the game. Villarreal were going pretty strong because they still needed to qualify for Europe through the league. Right. So there might be the fatigue factor too. I think at 5 to 6, probably United are just worth backing.
Yeah, that's pretty cheap value for how good Man U actually is.
I think the gulf in class is pretty big.
Right.
And I think Villarreal beating Arsenal was partly a question of Arsenal kind of incompetence, really.
I think it comes down maybe to if Man U will be able to keep Villarreal off the sheet. Maybe if they can get a clean sheet. Otherwise, I'm looking at over 2.5 at plus 108, just for some value there. I just feel like if Villarreal gets a goal, Man U will probably get 2. That's just kind of how I see it. If Villarreal can't get a goal, maybe it's just 1, but should be interesting nonetheless. All right, let's.
It should be.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, sorry. I think I would be looking possibly at Dutching 2-0 and 3-0 Manchester United. I do think this might be pretty comfortable. I mean, they had the last time they were in the Europa League final against Ajax, who were a very well fancied team at the time. United were very comfortable in that game, just won it 2-0. They've had not met too many hiccups on the road to the final, and because you remember they've been safe in the top 4 in the Premier League for a long time, so they've been able to concentrate on this game for a while. The flip side of that.
What about Man U to score first and win at plus 107? Is that something you think?
Yeah, I think that's a great bet. Because I think the only way that Villarreal win is if they score early. Okay. I think if it becomes an open game, Villarreal are in real trouble because United. Villarreal will try and slow the game down. They'll try and, because United have so much pace on the counter-attack with Rashford and Greenwood and Cavani finishing and Fernandes and Pogba if he plays.
Yeah.
Villarreal have some very good players. They've got a very, very good centre-back partnership of Pau Torres, who's kind of very young and up-and-coming, and Raul Albiol, who's been around at Real Madrid, vastly experienced player. If you're defending a lead with half an hour to go, you could do a lot worse than have those two. And you could do a lot worse than have Unai Emery as your manager, because he's a pretty, he can organise a team. So yeah, I think Manchester United to score first and win is definitely a very nice bet.
Okay, yeah, some markets to look at there. If the 5 to 6 is a little bit too expensive for you, but again, we both feel that that's a pretty good value.
I'm just happy to take that. I think there are many worse 5 to 6 shots around.
All right, well, let's get to the fun one now. The Champions League champions. We have gone through most of the markets, most of the trends for this. And so I want to get, Toby, your best bet. It could be any market. It can be anything at all for this match. What do you fancy the most from this Man City-Chelsea final on Saturday?
I think I'd very much like the draw at halftime.
Okay.
I think that would be where I'd go.
Plus 106, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What about what would you fade? What to you are you wouldn't touch, even if it hits, you say that's too risky for me. Yeah. Don't take it.
wouldn't. I don't think I would touch Man City at the price.
Okay.
I mean, I think they're rightful favourites, but you have to bear in mind that Chelsea have won twice against City recently. City, if it's drawn after 90 minutes, City will still fancy their chances. This is their first ever Champions League final, and they'll be pretty nervous about it. And yeah, I mean, I'm just happy to avoid City. They are clearly a better team, but I think at odds on neutral ground against a team that has pretty much not quite matched them, but been pretty close to them for a few months now, is a bit too short.
Yeah. Great stuff. Toby, thanks for so much coming on talking Champions League with us. Where, if you can real quick, tell people where to find your work and some of your writings and where to find you on the internet.
Yeah, just find me at Vegas Insider. It's probably the best place. I don't have Twitter.
That's okay. That actually is a good thing, because if you've ever been on Twitter, that can be deemed.
No, I have been, but I don't anymore.
Good stuff. Toby, thanks again so much for coming on talking Champions League. Good luck with your bets on Saturday.
Cheers.
And thank you all for tuning in and watching this preview of the Champions League. Again, be sure to like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on all different social platforms. For Toby and myself, Tom, thank you all for watching and joining. Good luck with your bets. Go out there, make some smart bets. Most importantly, make some money. Until next time, we'll see you.